Hi, I'm Kim McDonald, author of You Change, They Change, How to Take Control of Your Life by Losing Control Over Others. And I wanted to talk to you today about your toxic brain. Yes, you heard me right. What does that mean? Well, have you ever felt like you wanted to explode with rage, wanted to punch someone or something, or just felt an overwhelmed sense of needing to release this toxicity inside of you? Um, I think we can all say yes to that, even if you don't want to admit it. Um, it's a combination of things, and I wanted to tell you what's going on and validate you for feeling that way. It's one of life's big mysteries that we've solved, and I think validating why you feel like that and helping you understand why you feel like that and what's going on a physiological level in your body will help you gain control of yourself. So, we all have hormones, and believe it or not, these hormones are toxic chemicals when they release. So, have you ever heard of cortisol, the hormone that releases when you're in fight or flight, when your adrenals kick in to save you from what used to be the bear in the woods is now the probably stress from maybe your dinging phone going off because you have so many messages from one of those group texts, or you have a test, or you have to get on stage for something and present yourself, and all these things in normal life that can cause bells and whistles to go off in your body. Well, those bells and whistles that are sometimes seen as butterflies in your stomach or like a rush of heat in your body, feeling flushed when you get embarrassed, actually chemicals are releasing, and our body does a great job of releasing chemicals normally, but some of us, like me, have difficulty releasing toxic chemicals in my body. So the liver has to work harder and it takes longer. So in the meantime, get a little toxicity going on and it affects my brain, and that irrational feeling of overwhelm and anger, or a sense of just you cannot figure anything else out and you can't think straight and you just want to explode. Um, that is because the toxicity that is releasing hormonally is going into your brain and causing like a brain fog. And releasing it and yelling sometimes makes you feel better, but that doesn't help the person you're releasing it to. You can then set off their toxic hormones and they can become triggered by what you just did. Even though it made you feel better, it made them now triggered. And so you see how this perpetual toxicity release could damage other people and create a spirit of unrest and ill will towards others. And that's not what our body intended for us to do, is just to pour venom all over everyone to handle our stress. But that tends to be what happens. So that's the why it's happening is it's a chemical formula that releases in your body to when you're in a fight or flight moment. Fight or flight moments are happening all the time. So perception reframing is huge to help you not release so many chemicals. Thinking of things, they used to say if you had to go on stage and face an audience, look at the audience and imagine them naked. Well, there was a reason for that. It would lighten the load in your brain to think that they're just like me, but they're even naked. So it's kind of funny and they don't intimidate me when they're all sitting there naked. Well, there's a good point of that thinking in everyday life situations. So let's say you have to go home and face the music because you didn't do well on a test, and how you present that is, everything in whether you're going to feel good about that and how your parents going to react to that and create this toxic, conversation, or make it a constructive situation. So in another video, I talked about not being on the defensive, accepting responsibility and not blaming or shaming. And really getting to the root of why there's a problem so that then you can get help fixing it. Also, changing your perspective to what is scary is going to help you not release these toxic chemicals. Also, not feeling incongruent with your word. If you're saying one thing and doing another, let's say, oh, I'm gluten-free, but then there's a hamburger in front of me and I really want that bread, so I'm going to eat it. And then there's a little shame because everybody knows you're gluten-free at school, but yet here you are eating the bread and you made a big deal about being gluten-free. That's just one example of many things that we could be incongruent. And so it goes back to being perfectly imperfect. None of us are perfect. Everybody's vulnerable to, I wouldn't even call that a mistake, just being weak and wanting what you want at that moment and then suffering the consequences of that moment later. It's okay. It's okay. And no one's judging you as much as you're judging yourself. And the judging of yourself is what also releases these chemical hormones. So what do we do when we're releasing all these chemical hormones? Well, I've given you some tools. I've given you the breathing tool in another video. If you haven't seen it yet, that's going to be helpful to you in this situation. But a lot of times when we're so combustible and so angry and we just want to release, if you count backwards, like a rocket ship taking off, because that's what you feel like. You feel like you're about to explode and all these thoughts are going to come out of your head like a rocket shooting off into space. When you feel like that, count backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And take a breath and calm everything down. And the science behind the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is counting backwards. You have to think about it. You can't just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's a little bit more thought, and just that little bit of concentration will take you back off the edge of explosion. So, rockets explode, you want to explode, countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, breathe. And reset your cortisol levels, all those toxins that are being released to address the stress, and tell yourself, this too shall pass. It's not as big of a deal as I'm making it. And I just need to breathe so that I can get oxygen in my brain to help me think straight and not be irrational. So giving you these tools that we're all giving you is going to help you to know better, do better, so that you can react better in all situations, and that hopefully the person that you're reacting with can also understand and learn from your example how to then respond without defensiveness, without blame and shame, unforgiveness, non-compassion, but instead we can live in a compassionate world where we understand each other. We understand that we're all human and we're all imperfect, but we're all doing our best. But you have to display that. And how do you display that? It's not by exploding on other people. If you're at home and you're feeling overwhelmed, let's say your mom, you feel like she's not understanding you, or your dad, and you have an argument with them, go in your room, scream into a pillow. It will release these toxic chemicals and make you feel better without hurting the other person. It's okay. In fact, we teach little kids in schools. There's a school in Australia that teaches kids, they have a screaming tent, and they go get their anchor out in the tent instead of biting another child or hitting another child. So we understand that this is going to happen. We don't live in a perfect world where everybody's happy all the time and everybody handles everything great. Totally don't shame yourself for not being able to get this, emotional thing under control. It is a chemical response in your body, but knowing how to deal with it and knowing that you're validated, that it's a human expression, and understanding it is going to make you feel better about not being perfect, because nobody is. So they go in that little tent and they scream in their pillow when they want to bite somebody or kick somebody. So y'all are all a little bit older than that. Hopefully you're not biting and kicking each other. But the same rule applies. If you need to go, for a walk outside in nature, wonderful. Getting outside in nature grounds you. Put your feet on cement. Take your shoes off. Put them in dirt. It grounds you and stabilizes you and makes you not feel so irrational. So nature is a great tool. If you can't scream in a pillow, if you can't go into nature, it only takes a few seconds to do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but then that's the next phase, going outside, go and scream in a pillow. Another thing we teach little ones is the breathing tool I gave you in another video, is they put a rock on their belly and they belly breathe and make the rock move up and down. So you can visualize, a rock going up and down with your breath, or you can visualize waves coming over you and washing all of the stress that you just felt, washing it away. And then the tide coming in and cleansing you. So wave washing over out all the stress, tide coming in and replacing all that stress with good, clean energy, light, love for yourself and for your fellow man, so that you don't, for lack of a better word, vomit venom all over each other. So if we all take the time to do these little things to help us in stress, we're going to reverse the damage that that toxicity is causing in our brain and help the situation to be one of comfort instead of discomfort. And we're going to create a better environment for our body not to succumb to dis-ease. You know, disease, if you say dis-ease, it's really just the body being uncomfortable and at ease. So let's create a movement to where we understand ourselves so that we can understand each other. And when someone is dumping their venom all over you, you know they are releasing toxic chemicals and you cannot rationalize with them. So don't try. Just shake your head and say, I understand how you feel. Why don't we breathe? Or, I understand how you feel. I will think about that and get back with you. You're not admitting fault. You're not saying they're right, but you're validating them. You're seeing their concerns and you're having compassion for the fact that they are not in control of what they're doing right now, because they too are releasing these hormonal toxicities that make them irrational. And you can't rationalize with an irrational person. Ask your mom. And your mom can be irrational too at times, because remember, she's not perfect either. So she might be having these hormonal releases if she's in menopause, or, you know, if it's that time of the month for you girls, or you guys, maybe your girl just broke up with you, or maybe your girlfriend's having this issue and you just feel like you're supposed to fix it. You're not supposed to fix other people's stuff. You're just supposed to relate to them and be human with them and understand them and have compassion for what they're going through. No one wants to be yelling and screaming at each other. Trust me, it doesn't feel good after. Everyone feels worse. They feel shame. But we're not perfect. And we don't live in a perfect world where everybody's going to act as such. But knowing better, you do better. Good luck with it.